Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Coming to you guys live here on the YouTube today. I hope everybody's been having a fantastic Thursday. It's beautiful outside. A little bit of clouds, not too bad, but it is nice weather. It's kind of hot, but not super humid, so enjoying it, guys. But anyway, coming to you guys live today because today marks 6 months of my father's passing, Donald Husk. Um, any of you guys that followed me or have been friends with me over the last several months, um, sure you guys saw some of the videos I posted about my father the day after he passed, and I think everybody knows here how much my father means to me, how much he meant to my family, especially to my mom. I tell you what, like I'm very close with my parents. I'm very, we were always close. We talked a lot. We got along very well. But what is very surprising to me since my father's passing was actually learning the importance of their relationship to each other. Obviously, I've had a lot of conversations with my dad as far as the importance of my mom to him. And I believe I talked about this while he was in the hospital and he was kind of out of it. His oxygen levels were low and didn't really know what was going on and where he was. A few days before he passed, he actually was asking for my mother. Like he like that's his brain and body knew that he needed to get to my mom. He needed my mom by his side, and I thought that was I'll never get that out of my mind. That it was like instinct. It's like, how a cat instinctively, I don't know, it's kind of a weird comparison, but a cat instinctively, shits in a box, or we talk about instincts of other animals and things like that. But my father's instinct, his only survival instinct was to ask for my mom. And that's just amazing to me. Um, I can't think of anything more true and more loving than that. And then, just obviously I've spent a lot of extra time with my mom over the past 6 months. Um, we've always been close, but uh, obviously I wanted to be there for her in any way possible. Um, you know, living alone now, and just if there was anything extra I could do, just checking on her, getting to go see her. Um, I just getting to hang out with my mom a little bit more often. Has been been pretty cool. But I wish that things would have been, obviously, as far as timing goes, things would have been different. Obviously, I've talked to you guys about the situation there in Montgomery County. Well, since that's all been lifted, that was lifted unfortunately, after my father passed away. So I mean, I can now I go up to my mom and have lunch with her and have dinner with her and go hang out at the house and just stop by and say hi. Or if I'm up at the office, I'll drive by. And I don't do it all the time, and I probably should do it more often. But just the fact that I can do it now is pretty nice. But unfortunately, I couldn't do that while my father was still here. Um, so anytime I got to see my parents was they would come down here to see me, or we would go on a trip or something like that. And now that my father's not here, I can pretty much go do whatever the fuck I want to do. So anyway, so it's 3:03 right now. I'll kind of catch everybody up a little bit. My father was put in the hospital on January 1 of 2021. He was coming back from a trip with my mother and sister and brother-in-law and their 2 children. And I was originally supposed to go on this trip, but for a couple different reasons, sadly, one reason is my father and I got into a massive, massive fight. And I love my father dearly, and we've worked together, going on 20 years. And I just got to the point where, you know what, I don't want to fight with my dad, and I don't want to fight with my mom. I don't want to fight with anybody, but I still had to take care of the business. And ugh, so that one was stuck. Oh my god, that was in and it just wouldn't come out. Um, but I had to run the business while he was on vacation, and it worked out well simply because we started getting a huge influx of business from a couple new clients when he went on the vacation. So had I been out of town, it would have been very difficult, very bad for the company. But God has worked some mysterious ways, and I ended up staying home. I was home, and they went on vacation, and everybody got sick. And on the way back, my father was really, really, really sick, but he toughed it out. He's a tough, tough guy. And my mom is laying on the floor. She's just aches and pains and chills, and she's actually laying on the floor with a blanket like like tucked under her one side, draped across her body, and like tucked into a drawer with a vent blowing up from the bottom of this motorhome, blowing air into her because she's just miserable, sweats and chills. And so she was in bad shape. My father was really sick, and obviously the pneumonia was setting in with him, but he toughed it out and he got home. Well, they got home on the 31st of December, and my father just went and he just laid down. And that's when, because he'd been up and about and he was still functioning, but he was sick, obviously. Well, when he finally just laid down, it's like it just set in. It's like everything kind of just set in his chest, and he started feeling really, really bad. So my mom ended up taking him to the hospital, went to the emergency room. My father sat in the fucking emergency room for like 9 hours. Now, keep in mind, my he's a heart patient. He's diabetic. He's overweight, chronic heart failure. So long history of medical conditions, and he's clearly not doing very well. And they've got him in the emergency room, just sitting there for like 9 hours, to the point where that night, my son actually, Braxton, I ordered Whataburger. My father, we couldn't get food for him because they hadn't even fed him there. So I ordered Whataburger online. Like, I placed an order. God, technology is so awesome. I actually placed an order through the Whataburger app, and my son, who was right around the corner from him, went and picked it up and took it to him. So that, so my father, and of course that night, boom, they confirm he's got pneumonia. And then of course they run a COVID test and he has COVID. So they finally admit him to the hospital and he's there. Well, back and forth, he ends up actually beating pneumonia and COVID. He recovers from both of them. Tests negative, gets rid of the pneumonia, actually turns into double lung pneumonia. The part I was talking about where he was asking for my mother, he was kind of delirious. He was on oxygen. Man, that thing, god dang. So double lung pneumonia, and he had been on oxygen, just a mask, but like 100% oxygen. Lungs were doing really, really bad. And so ends up recovering from all this other stuff. And my mom has him moved come February, beginning of February. Mom has him moved to a hospital in up the road, which specializes in cardiovascular and respiratory like therapy, recovery, function. So he's there, and for a couple days he goes through therapy, and Mom actually gets to go see him. She doesn't get to go like inside, but they do his therapy session in like this big glass like entryway area. And mom and my niece got to kind of sit outside, and she brought his dogs, and they got to sit outside and watch and just kind of and get to see my dad. Well, on the 13th, and what was really I'm always at work. I always seem to be at work when everything was happening. So, um, February 13th was a Saturday. I'd gone out to look at a project that had come in, and I was going to do an inspection on Saturday. And right as I was leaving the job site, my mom calls me, like, and she goes to tell me that that my dad wasn't breathing, and they had to rush him to Conroe Regional Hospital. By the time they got him there, they revived him, and he was coherent. He understood where he was, what day it was, all that stuff. I still think he said Trump was the president. I think that's one of the questions they ask: who's the president? What you know where you are? What day is it? Who's the president? I think he still said Trump. So they revive him, but they immediately. I mean, he's awake, but his lungs aren't functioning on their own anymore. They're just nothing left to him. The pneumonia, between the pneumonia and then the COVID, and then he actually got a blood clot, and the blood clot got into his lungs and it bounced around. And so everything pneumonia didn't kill, COVID didn't kill. This blood clot went in there and just destroyed everything. It started bouncing around in his lungs and it just destroyed him. So they they took him and they put him immediately on a ventilator. And as most everybody knows in this day and age, that the likelihood of people recovering once they get off a ventilator is very, very low. Um, so um, that was February 13th. And I'm going to tell you kind of a special story about that. I was on my way home from this inspection after my mom had called me and she told me what was going on. She told me she would call me back. And about 30 minutes later, she calls me and tells me, and she's bawling. And I'm thinking, oh my God, something, obviously my father passed or something like that. And what she ends up telling me is that my father, like I said, he loved my mom. He loved her so much. Um, the only other person he loved more than my mom, I think, was his mom. He just he cared deeply for my mother, which is awesome. So she's bawling and she tells me that she saw a box. There was a package outside of their gate, and she went down there to go open it, and it was flowers for her that my father had sent to her. He had flowers ordered and sent to her for Valentine's Day. He did that while I was in the hospital, and he's struggling and he's suffering, and he thinks of my mom. That's awesome. And so he ordered her flowers. Um, but the night before on the 12th, my dad and we were texting. And this is what was really surprising me is my dad we would talk or text every single day, even when he was in the hospital, as long as he was coherent, and he wasn't like just completely out, we would talk. And that night to the 10th, sorry, on the 12th till about 10 or 11 p.m., we were texting. It was a Friday night. I remember I was sitting over at Fred's house. We were smoking a hookah, and I was texting with my dad. Whenever he would respond, we'd talk about stuff, and it was cool because I'll be honest, it was the last conversation I had with my father, and in that conversation, he actually took the time to tell me he was proud of me, which was just odd. Because it would never really happen. Um, it's 3:13 right now. When my father passed, he actually passed at 3:12 p.m. So yeah, they put on his death certificate that he passed at 3:15. But the doctors, when I got there, I was the first one to arrive. I'm not there yet, obviously, but I was the first one to arrive, and they told me he died. He passed away at 3:12. So, um, but yeah, in that conversation that night, he actually told me how proud he was of me. Ooh, kicked the microphone. Um, yeah, he actually told me how proud he was of me, which was nice. It's not something he said very often. I knew he was. Just it was nice to hear him express it. It was really, really nice. It was really odd that that night he would tell me that he was proud of me and that he loved me and that he wanted, hope I was happy and hope that eventually I would find somebody to be in my life and share my life with. That was my father's hope for me always. My father was a big family man, so he hoped that I would have my own family. And obviously I have children, but um I mean obviously I'm not I'm not in a relationship or married to their mother, so my father always hoped that that's how what I would have. I would have the things that he did. A family. Get to have kids in the house and everything. He always hoped for that. But so anyway, that was the last conversation I had with my father. Was on the 12th of February, and he was rushed to the hospital, and they put him on a ventilator on the 13th. That was a Saturday, so pretty much that entire week, be honest, kind of was preparing for the worst. They had talked about putting him on a lung transplant. My father and I actually had a conversation because they were talking about this beforehand, and they had been talking about putting him on a lung transplant list and probably transferring him. And I told him I was very honest and I was very hard with my father. Because he was he was an intelligent man. He knew he knew what he was doing wrong and his faults and his flaws. He understood it. My father was overweight and he had heart problems and he really never did anything to take care of it. Um, you know, Obviously that doesn't mean anything as far as the quality of person he was because he was just an amazing fucking dude. But um, I had a conversation with him and I told him, I said, Dad, in order for you to get lungs, it would mean that someone else has to die. And those are good, healthy lungs that might go to somebody who's going to live a long life, who's actually going to take care of themselves. And are you prepared to make all those changes? Because as of now, I mean, last 20 years, You've not made those efforts to take care of yourself. Are you prepared to do that now? Are you prepared to do those things? And sorry, I'm gonna turn off that sound over there. But I he said yes. He was committed to it. He wanted to make those changes in his life. He wanted to live. And that's how my father was. He was like I said, he was a fucking badass. He was a fighter and he wanted to live. He loved life. Whoa. That one echoed inside my head. Oh my God. Woo. um so anyway, we are I'm just kind of preparing for it. I know it's coming, unfortunately. I'm not saying anything to my mom, but I kind of know it is. But of course, The 14th was a a Sunday. And then of course everybody in Texas, rest of the country was making fun of us. Was on the 16th we had a major freeze. Actually happened on the 15th and 16th. Major freeze where the state went insane. Um, some of the coldest weather on record that we've ever had for the longest period of time, and pipes broke everywhere. Now we're in the business of this is what we do. We fix properties after natural disasters and things like that. And that happened on the 16th. My father's in the hospital and things go gangbusters. I'm running the company all on my own now. I don't have my father there to lean on. Of course, we've got a staff of people, but I had my duties. My father had his, and now I'm having to do all of his and mine with all the other stress of everything going on in the middle of a catastrophe. It was big. Come to find out, like the freeze is actually the largest documented catastrophe in the history of Texas. There was 3 million insurance claims filed, whereas you have like a claim, like you have a Hurricane Harvey or Hurricane Ike or Tropical Storm Allison that comes through, or tornadoes that go through Waco or Dallas. You know, you'll have several 100,000, maybe borderline 1.5 million, maybe 2 million claims. They had 3 million claims across the state of Texas. The insurance companies were going crazy. We were getting flooded with claims. We were getting like 20 a day. They started sending us like 50 every 48 hours, and I had to knock it back down. And it was just insane. So I'm now starting on the 16th. I'm just going gangbusters, getting out there, inspecting job sites, getting people on, the crews out on sites, equipment, all this other stuff. And I remember vividly, it was a Friday afternoon, Friday the 19th. I'm finishing inspection. Luckily, I was not too far from my house. At the time, I get a phone call from my mom, and literally, almost just like on the 13th, I had just literally stepped foot off of the curb, off of the driveway. Like I had one foot in the road walking to my truck, and the other foot was coming off the ground, and my watch vibrates, my phone rings. It's my mom calling me. And of course she's crying. She's upset. She's telling me what's going on, that my father isn't, the ventilator's no longer working. She ends up telling me that apparently the day before was a really rough day. They had to revive him a couple different times, and she was going to have to make a decision because my father had open heart surgery in 2003, quadruple bypass surgery, and split open his chest, and he never wanted to go through that kind of pain ever again. And he made it very clear to all of us that he didn't want that. So, my mom, I think made the right decision to instruct them, because that's what my dad, he didn't want that. And my mom made the decision, and I'll say this wholeheartedly. My mom has questioned her decision every day, and I don't. Not because obviously I would like to have my father here, but there's not another person in this world that knows my father better than my mom. And if it was in her to make that decision, it was the right decision. Because you can't take, obviously, the 40 years that I've known my father, but obviously as a child, they've known each other since they were, I was born when they were 26. My sister was born when they were 24. I think they met when they were like 21, 22. They're 64 and 65 years old now. There's nobody that knows my father better. And you can't aggregate that time and say that my mom didn't make the right decision. I think she certainly did, because she knew what he wanted, and she knew in her heart what needed to be done. And it was a hard decision. It sucked, but I think she made the right decision. But she ends up calling me back and telling me that They stopped trying to revive him. No more chest compressions. And because by the time she told me, like the first phone call, I was rushing. I was getting in my truck and I was going to haul ass up to the hospital. And I'm about 20 minutes out, and she calls me and tells me that he passed away. So I get up to the hospital, and God damn, this is where shit gets really fucked up, and where I start getting angry about stuff. Is the entire time my father's in the hospital, I can't go fucking see him. He's in the hospital. Oh, because COVID's so fucking dangerous. My God, I got an immune system and I'm healthy as a fucking ox, but I can't go in. I cannot go in to see my father. I can't walk in the hospital. I can't put on a mask or do anything to go see my father. The whole time he's in the fucking hospital. Not when he's in a regular hospital, not when he was in the emergency room, not when they admitted him to a regular hospital room. None of that shit. When they transferred him over to the other hospital and he's in the ICU, couldn't go see him. But the day my father passed away, they allowed me and my family to go in the hospital to see him. And I didn't even wear a fucking mask. I walked up to a desk. They gave me a green wristband so people could identify me as a visitor, as an approved visitor. And I go in the goddamn hospital. No one escorts me. I go into the ICU where they had my father on a ventilator. I don't have a mask on. I walk right in. There's other patients all over the place. They're in their other rooms. It's not like they're in locked doors. There's curtains covering this shit. And they allow me to come right in there, walk right in as if it made a big fucking difference from, if it would have been 2 days before when he was still alive versus this time. I now get to go see my father and he's passed away. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Why is this world so fucked up that I'm allowed to do this now, but I couldn't spend any time with him when he was alive? How fucking stupid is this? So angry. And it sucked because all I did was I wanted to sit there and just and spend some time with my dad and just be there and be present with him and try to think about him and love him and, and remember him while I was there physically touching him for what was, I thought was going to be the last time. And it was just insane. It was insane to me. And they ended up allowing my son and my niece and her husband and my mom ended up coming up. And we were all in there. No masks on, just doctors coming in and out talking to us, no masks on. And apparently it made a fucking difference because my father was passed away, but apparently there was no chance of us getting the other people around us sick, which is just fucking stupid. So anyway, so yeah, over the last 6 months, I've had to do so much. And then of course, the pipes broke at my parents' house. My mom gets home that night, ceiling collapses in my dad's theater room. It was like, she says that he did it. She says that if he couldn't use his theater room, nobody was going to use his theater room. But she said what was really weird was when she got home, I mean, look, my father, my mom, yeah, they know how to use their phones and a computer and they can turn the TV on, but they're not using like Amazon devices or Google devices. It's like they don't have a smart home. So it's not like they're going to go in and like, do a lot of technology kind of stuff. I don't think they knew how to set up a recording on anything. And so my mom tells me that when she got home, the theater room TV was on. The projector was on. And which it had been off. It was off when she left. And it was on when she got home. And it was on one of my father's favorite shows. And then she walked in there and then she heard a big crash and boom, ceilings came down. And she had already had pipes break in the master bedroom. In her bedroom, it flooded her bedroom. went down to the rooms down below. She had pipes break in the garage, so messed up the garage. So yeah, now the theater room's messed up. So pretty much every room in the house now has got problems. So over the last 6 months, obviously dealing with all that, trying to unravel, uh, my father's estate, and making sure my mom has everything she needs, and running the company, and then taking care of their house and all this other stuff. It has been an eventful 6 months. But what's really funny is my father obviously loved the business that we're in. I mean, he started our company 43 years ago, and I've been managing it for the last 15, minus my 4-year vacation. But I've been largely managing the company, from the operations. My dad did the business stuff, like he sat at the desk most of the time, and would pay the taxes and make sure payroll was done and all this other stuff. And I would go to the field and I would inspect the jobs, and I would, do a lot of the contracts and estimating and stuff like that. Well, we had all these projects coming in, and it was funny because the people at the office who had been there prior to obviously my father passing, they would they would comment to me that if my father was still there, he would be running around the office giddy. He would just be so happy because all of these claims coming in. And he was like a child. And it's not because you're, hey, happy that someone's house is being damaged. It's just he loved the adrenaline and the rush of it. Even at 64 years old, it just gave him a huge rush to have all this different stuff going on. And so that sucked. I didn't get to share that with him because I know he just would have enjoyed that. But a lot of other things have happened at the business. Things I've been able to do at the business, grow it. Some new contracts, some really great things that I've been able to do at the business that he had a hand in, but I could never get finalized for one reason or another. And I finally was able to get a lot of it finalized. And I mean, of course, I wouldn't be where I'm at. I wouldn't be able to do a lot of the things I do now if it wasn't for my father. The company itself wouldn't exist if it wasn't for my father. So I just wish he could have been there to see a lot of this stuff, because a lot of the things that we're doing today is a result of a lot of the hard work that he'd put in, over years. And so it's kind of neat. I mean, an email and phone call I got today, actually not too long before I came on here, he would just, it was a business related call about a pretty significant opportunity for us. He would just be doing backflips. You're talking about an almost 300-pound man, probably do a fucking backflip if I told him what was going on. So there's a lot, unfortunately, that my father hasn't got, that he missed out on, and it sucks. Like I said, obviously the business side, but that's not even obviously the most important stuff. The most important stuff would be my my niece. For him, it would be my niece and my son. Well, my niece, had a baby a month ago. My father had walked her down the aisle at her wedding, and they were extremely close. And she finally had her baby last month, and my dad unfortunately missed out on being a great grandfather. He already was a great father and a great grandfather, but now he was legitimately going to be a great grandfather. And I know he was excited about that, but it really sucks he missed out on being there for Becca's little baby. And then Braxton goes off to college. Starts college in 2 weeks. Well, a week and a half. So that's pretty exciting. A lot of little things that I wish he would have been here for, and it sucks. And I know it's hard. It's and anybody watching this who's lost somebody that's important and valuable in their life. Obviously, my loss isn't greater than anybody else's. But what I can say is I was an extremely blessed individual with my parents. W- My m- my connection with my parents is it's so hard to explain. It's so deep because I don't know how to. It's not like my father and I had a pastime together. It's not like we could go fishing together and had that kind of bond. But like we were close. Like my father's it was work. So like I would work in the yard with my dad and when I was young, and of course I've told stories about him, shocking me on the fucking hot wire for the dogs that surrounds the fucking house. uh but I mean, we were always super super close, and of course I've traveled the world with my mom and my father's just always been an amazing guy, and of course then we worked together as an adult, so we've always just been super super close. We were always just really close. And so losing him, I know for me, I can only speak for me. I can't speak for my mom. Obviously, I mean, I have an idea of, how great the loss is for her, but for me, it was double sided. I lost three sided. My father and I were friends. Like we were friends. Like we at my age, it's okay to be friends with your parents at when in your 30s and 40s. Not okay to be friends with your kids when they're fucking teenagers. You got to be a goddamn parent to your kids. Stop being friends with your children at young ages. But my dad and I had become friends. Like we could sit there and talk about bullshit and things he was doing at his ranch, and I talk about my cars or the things I was building or whatever, and we could just relate on a friendly level. And then we could also be father and son, where we would talk about family issues and things going on here and there, stuff like that. And then we were business partners. We worked together forever, and we worked off of one each other. We always got told all the time that we should have had a TV show because our relationship was kind of like Paul and Paul Senior from, or Paul and Paul Junior from Orange County Choppers. Obviously, very very close. But when we worked together, there was fucking fireworks. Like we could literally sit there and scream and yell at each other and cuss at each other. And 3 minutes later, hey, are you coming over for dinner tonight? What are we, what's going on? Are you guys, that kind of stuff. And that's the relationship we had. Yeah. So we would, so well, anyway, it was hard because we were just, our lives were so intertwined in everything. And what really sucks is I've been so busy with everything. I've been go, 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 go every day that I've not been able to literally just sit down and I don't know, just I guess process the whole thing. And obviously, that was a big part of this. I'd planned it beforehand. I'd planned to starting my podcast beforehand, but then eventually it got put on back burner because of my father's passing. But this is the only thing that I've been able to do is get on here and talk and try to connect with people and just try to get it out. Um, for me, that helps me process things. I'm a thinker, and everything is has to flow in a logical form. So I have to talk it out and work through the problem. And it's been hard because for 6 months it's just been nonstop, and I've not been able to just really sit down and relax and process it all. Because every single day, everything I do is intertwined with my dad, which is also a cool thing because I still get to feel connected to him. And I love helping my mom. She'd be a pain in my ass sometimes, but that's what moms are for at this point in life, right? No, I love helping my mom because I made a promise to my dad. Made a promise to my dad. My dad, like I said, my dad was a very practical individual. He obviously he had his head in the clouds for a lot of shit, but he knew that at some point he was no longer going to be here. Like I said, because he wasn't doing anything to stop it. He wasn't doing anything in his life to avoid his death. He was he was literally, but he was just living his life, and we my mom's texting me. She's on here and she's texting me, telling I'm the pain in the ass. I get it. It's cool. I am. Whatever. Uh, but I made my father a promise a long time ago because we sat down and talked about it. And he made me promise him that no matter what occurred, that when he did pass, that I would take care of my mother. That I would see to it that, whatever she needed, whatever resources she needed, whatever help she needed with anything, that I'd see to it that it was provided. And so I've spent the last really 6 months focusing on a lot of that, and that's given me some pretty good purpose. So that's been fun. I can't say I enjoy it because it's like I said, getting to hang out with my mom, bringing it all the way back to the very beginning. I get to bring it back to my mom, and uh, I'm glad I get to be there for her. I'm glad I get to help out, and it really makes me happy. Again, because my parents have given so much to me. Like I said, I mean, growing up, my mom and dad, we were super close. My mom always there with me. We took trips all over the place. I was, athlete, so we traveled around the world. But also, while I was away for 4 years, my parents were there for me every day. They made sure I had money on my commissary books. They had money on the phones. I could call and I could go eat food because God knows I couldn't eat in the chow hall because I got, 2 pieces of bread and a piece of cheese and some extra beans. Um, but I was able to go buy food at commissary, like chicken packs and tuna packs and stuff like that. So I was able to at least get some nutrition that way. But my parents took care of that, and a big part of it was actually my mom. I mean, my dad went out there, ran the business, and earned the money, but my mom made sure that all this stuff was taken care of. She's truly like, and I mean this in the most complimentary way. Like, she's the truest form of like a stay at home mom, like a homemaker. Like, she's gonna make sure everything is organized at the house. She always made sure that everything was taken care of. So my father never had a want for anything at the house. And I'm like, how grateful am I? The fact that, she made sure that I didn't have to worry about anything while I was away. And that was pretty awesome. So through all of the shit, through all the heartache and the headache that I put my parents through and all the bullshit that I've done, they were always there for me. That's pretty fucking cool. So obviously I have to say thank you to my mom and my dad just for being awesome. Number one, they were always awesome parents, just always fantastic parents, but also just being present and being there and just whenever I needed them. They knew to kind of back away if they thought I didn't need them or if I was about to fucking explode or something. I can kind of be like a nuclear bomb. Everybody catches shrapnel around me, so my parents knew to kind of back off, but they were there when I needed them, and that's just, you can't replace that. And so I'm so grateful. And so my opportunity now is I get to give back to my mom and do things for her and help her out in any way possible. Like yesterday, we got into an argument, but I was trying to help her with something. And it's my fault. It's not her fault. It's my fault. I need to do a better job of communicating certain things to her. Unfortunately, I doing this my entire life, there's things I understand instinctively and things I automatically know. And sometimes because I'm just the way I process things in my head, I just do them and just kind of move on down the road. I don't do a very good job at sometimes communicating those things. not only to my mother, but also to other people in my office. And unfortunately, I'll get frustrated by that. And my mom and I, like yesterday, we got into an argument. Nothing bad. Wasn't anything bad. It was just definitely not the level of what my dad and I used to get into. Um, but it was kind of funny because it was reminiscent since I was sitting in my father's office, uh, fighting with my mother. Kind of missed it a little bit, fighting with one of my parents about business related shit. So anyway, that's it, guys. Like I said today, Donald Lee Husk Sr. Actually, I apologize. God, I've done that so many times. My father was a junior. I really wish that my mom had lost that argument. My father wanted to make me a third. My father, ironically, my father was the baby in the family. He was the youngest of 4 siblings, and he was made a junior. Donald Lee Husk Jr. was my dad's name. And my mom did not want, sort of like Braxton's mom, did not want to have the same, her son having the same name. And a lot of her, I guess her excuse, her reasoning was, well, first off, she thought Dawn, I don't know what she thought about Dawn, the name itself, but it's like Braxton's mom says, if I'm yelling at you, I don't want the kid think I'm yelling at you. So no, they're not going to get the same fucking name. But my mom wanted to name me Kendall. I don't think I look like a Kendall. I think Jason's fitting for me. But I really would have liked, I thought I'd considered it for a while, not after my father's passing, but in my 20s and early 30s, I'd actually considered doing a legal name change and becoming Donald Lee Husk III, which I always thought would have been really cool. So at least I got his middle name. So that's nice. At least I get that part. But anyway, yeah, Donald Lee Husk Jr. passed away 6 months ago today on February 19th at 3:12 p.m. About 6 months and 47 minutes ago, or 40. No, sorry. 32 minutes ago. 33 minutes ago. It is 33 minutes ago there. Anyway. Thank you all. Thank you all so much. I appreciate it. I really do. Thank you for everything. Thank you to all the people who reach out to communicate with me. I don't know if it's this outlet, or again, this is not what you guys are going to be seeing on the show. This is just me. Once I'm in the studio, it's never coming out of there again. I may do some Facebook Lives, things like that from here. But as far as the show goes, what you guys are going to see on the YouTube come beginning of September is going to be from the studio, and it's going to be more of a laid back vibe, big room with, desk, or with a big table. And, like I said, going to have the hookah out there, maybe smoking cigars, guests, drinking, things like that. It's going to be kind of a chill vibe and just really me and another person talking the entire time. It's not going to be just me. Look, I've been on here for 48 minutes and I can go on forever. Don't necessarily ever need to shut the fuck up, but, what you guys are seeing right now is just this is just temporary, and till I move everything up to the studio, till I'm happy with it. So I do want to reach out. And like I said, I don't know if it's this avenue or the things on my Facebook or Instagram, or I actually just launched today the official Facebook page for the show. And Jesus, I mean, within a few hours, it's got 100, likes and followers. And I mean, I know I'm nobody special. I have no name, real recognition, but it's really nice to see the people that are in my life, the people that I interact with, that that they're along for the ride and they're there to be part of it. I mean, I've got, people that are commenting here. Peacemaker. This is an interesting man that you all will be meeting very soon. Yes, sir. I appreciate it. Thank you. There's an interesting, I actually have a video. There's a video of mine. Only thing I'll say is that I was in one of his music videos. In 2016, I was in a music video of his. I got to be in part of it, and then I actually got to film. The director stepped back and allowed me to hold the camera and videotape the intro to his music video. So he's going to be coming on. I talked to him the other day, and he's definitely going to be coming on the show. An awesome guy, and I think all you guys are going to really love hearing from him. he's got some great shit to talk about. So he'll be really, 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 really fun to be on the show. So anyway, like I said, I'm not sure what it's from, but just the amount of people, and I don't know, maybe it's, hey, you guys, a lot of people watched the video I did on Monday talking about my, my anniversary and stuff like that. Just the amount of people that it grows, and I do my best, and I apologize if I don't respond to everybody, but sometimes it's overwhelming. Sometimes it's, 10 people, sometimes it's 20 people, sometimes it's 50 to 100 people. And it's just, it gets overwhelming, but I do appreciate it. I do. And it's just nice. It's just nice. Like I said, and I'll say it a million times. It's nice just to hear somebody say, thank you. I appreciate what you're doing. What you said made sense to me. What you said helped me. I'm going through something similar. I went through something similar. What you've said made me feel better. Or just a simple, hey, I hope you're doing well and I'm thinking about you. It's unbelievable how powerful that is. I encourage everybody, if you just got someone coming across your mind, if you got somebody that came into your thoughts, there's a reason for it. So by all means, reach out. Don't hesitate. Capitalize on every opportunity. Take that chance. You never know. As I just expressed today, you don't know when the last time is going to be. The last conversation I had with my father was on February 12th, 2021, and we talked about 10 p.m. And my father took the opportunity to tell me that he loved me and that he was proud of me and that he hoped I would have the fulfilling life that he's always dreamed of for me. And he took that opportunity. And that was the last day I ever spoke to my father. So you never know when it's going to come. Never pass up on that chance. Never walk away from that opportunity. You don't want to regret it. And you don't want the people around you to regret it. So take the chance. So I'll end it here, guys. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I thank you for everything. Thank you for all the people that reached out. I really do appreciate it. I love you all. And I'll talk to you soon.